Hello and welcome. I'm Pratap Singh. You're joining us on NewsX. The India-China disengagement along the LAC is well underway, with the process expected to conclude by the 20th or 29th of October. By now, over 50% of the temporary structures and tents have been removed in the critical areas of Depsang and Demchok. Senior commanders are engaging in daily hotline conversations to monitor the progress. Meanwhile, ground-level coordination continues with 1 to 2 meetings between Indian and Chinese officials daily. According to sources, post-disengagement, local commanders will review the adherence to agreed terms by conducting comprehensive aerial and ground checks. Regular patrols will restart once all temporary structures have been cleared. Following disengagement, patrols will take place twice a month as per established SOPs. Patrolling will also be led by dedicated 15-member teams from India and China. Sources have told us that further talks regarding disengagement are expected for Galwan and 3 other key sectors. Sources have also revealed that India and China plan to discuss the Yangtze area in Arunachal next. The priority at the moment is to return to a pre-2020 status quo. So is this the first step towards stability, or should we be cautious of trusting Xi Jinping? Joining us at this point is Bhashwati Mukherjee, former diplomat. We also have Major General Dhruv Katoch, Director, India Foundation, live with us. Major Mohammad Ali Shah, defense expert, is joining us live. Vijay Kranti, Chairman Chase, is also joining the broadcast. Let me make a start with you first, Ambassador Mukherjee. What do you make of the situation on ground now, post, of course, the big announcement by India and China? Things, of course, translating now into action on ground after words at the top.
Well, Uday, when you're dealing with a formidable adversary who often does double speak, one has to be very careful. But I would agree with your assessment that for the moment, things are looking upbeat. It would appear that the gentleman's agreement, but a gentleman's agreement has to be conducted between 2 gentlemen, not 1 gentleman and 1 not a gentleman. That's also been the problem for us between India and China. But for the moment, the gentleman's agreement appears to be holding. And we must ensure that the disengagement, which I see now from media reports, etc., is being done in a coordinated, simultaneous manner. That should be our strategy. It should be simultaneous. For every 1 step backward by India, China should do the same. Because if you remember, we had a deep and rude shock some time back when we had an agreement. We disengaged, but this similar disengagement did not come from the other side. That it seems to me now that there is a change of position on the part of Xi Jinping. He probably thinks that it makes sense to have this disengagement so that he can engage with us on other things. The Chinese economy is in trouble. He is being targeted by the West, where India is in several Western groupings, including the Quad. On the other hand, India is in BRICS, where we play a very important role. And possibly also the common equation of both with Russia may also have influenced Xi Jinping's thinking that it may not be in China's core national interest to continue to have such an openly adversarial position against India on the LAC. On the other hand, we must not forget that China continues to remain our adversary, that China continues to remain opposed to India's rise from a sub-regional power to an emerged power. This disengagement gives us breathing space. It enables us to improve our infrastructure. It enables us to make the necessary defense acquisitions so as to close the gap. So all in all, for the moment, it looks to be a positive development for India, and I hope it continues that way.
In fact, quickly take that to Major General Dhruv Katoch as well. Major General Dhruv Katoch, what do you make of the scenario emerging now on ground at the LAC? With, of course, disengagement now taking place. This process is expected to conclude perhaps by the 20th or 29th of October, isn't it?
Thank you, Uday. Uday, in my view, it's a positive development that de-escalation and disengagement is taking place. Having said that, when we are looking at disengagement, I think there will only be disengagement as far as the front troops are concerned, but the bulk of the forces are going to remain in eastern Ladakh, albeit at a distance, maybe in the depth areas. I don't think we are in a position really to trust the Chinese or their intentions. So it will behove the army and the Indian nation to be prepared for anything that is going to come. Now, the positive is for the first time, when this incident took place in 2020, and an attempted salami slicing was there, but this time the army put its foot down. They were there. But more importantly, I think the political establishment took a call that we will not move back. Now, that is a very important call because it also involved putting in a very large number of troops into that area. And that call was taken. So you see a very heavy deployment of the Indian Army now in that area. About 50,000 odd additional troops have come in there. Now, I don't think that 50,000 troops is going to go back, and it's going to go back to the way things were before. However, where the problems actually started in the Depsang Valley, in Demchok, and in the other areas, to that extent, that disengagement will take place. And I think the positive is that this will prevent inadvertent flare-up from taking place. When troops are armed, when they are in close combat, then we are looking into the world of what they call the strategic corporal. A mistake made at that end can have strategic significance for the Indian nation and for the world at large. It can actually lead, and a small incident can lead to an open war. So at least those aspects will be avoided, and to some extent, the way the India-China relationship has soured over the years. To that extent, I think there will be a little bit of a balm applied. But I think, it won't really affect the overall nature of the India-China relationship. Even in the BRICS summit, please see the wordings, the way the people have spoken. China, Xi Jinping very specifically spoke of a multipolar world. He didn't say a word about a multipolar Asia. For him, it is still a unipolar Asia and a multipolar world, while Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke of a multipolar Asia. Now, obviously, those strategic aims are divergent as far as both the nations are concerned, but it would behove India to be ever prepared. Otherwise, you're going to get back to the ruts that, you start trusting, let us say on the western border, you start trusting Pakistan and we run into problems. Here, we are not going to trust the Chinese. We will remain in a situation by which our troops are available should anything go wrong. But otherwise, I think other business can carry on. As far as the one important point, which comes in is trade. I think we should be very careful in allowing the entry of Chinese goods into India. That will be a cause of very serious concern, especially of high upper end goods like chips, etc., which we really don't know, how they have been configured. So those are the things which I think we need to take care of. But otherwise, on the ground, I think it is a positive development, especially for India. Uday.
Yes, let me also, in fact, quickly now rope in Major Mohammad Ali Shah. Major Mohammad Ali Shah, how do you view the situation on ground panning out after, of course, the big announcement that came in, of course, at the top that a breakthrough has been achieved between both sides to disengage now on ground?
Right, Uday, I totally agree with Ambassador Mukherjee and General Katoj completely, and Ambassador Mukherjee more so also because she's a diplomat and as an ambassador, she knows the language of diplomacy very, very well. So more certainly, I think right now at this point of time, the language of diplomacy is very, very important. And as we say, let's give peace a chance. And again, talking about diplomacy, we heard the deputy NSA, the foreign secretary, Mr. Vikram Misri, he highlighted the point on 21st October that extensive negotiations over several weeks, they had led to the breakthrough, which aimed at to resolve the complex issues that arose during the 2020 standoff. And we saw Colonel Babu from Bihar Regiment and his brave hearts being martyred. Colonel Babu was awarded the Mahavir Chakra. We cannot trust the Chinese at all. In fact, there have been several pacts. They have gone behind. They've gone back of their words. In fact, we name it Panchil Pact, name it any pact. So they believe in the philosophy of Sun Tzu's philosophy of winning wars without fighting, without firing a single bullet, where they would win a war. Even if they disengage, they still continue with their winning war without fighting, right? Like biological warfare, psychological warfare, cyber warfare, information warfare, and such things. They keep indulging in those kind of warfare. Now, China has built infrastructure at the line of action control. Will they dismantle that and take it behind? That's one other golden question. Well, we have got tents, we've got other equipments. We reduced our vehicles, our manpower. The tension has de-escalated, thankfully. That's a very, very good sign. So when a government has taken a decision, I think all the citizens should actually support the decision, because they would be having a much, much broader perspective in mind, which many people may not be having, in fact. So most certainly it's a very, very positive development. But at the same time, as General Kato said, we have to keep our border, we have to keep our guards ready completely. We don't know when they can backtrack. In 1962, you had the post of Major Dhan Singh Thapa, Paramveer Chakra. We saw the Chinese would come in, Indi Chini, bye-bye, and they would stab you in the back. We also saw in the Battle of Rizangla, where Major Dhan Singh Bhati, Paramveer Chakra again, where how Chinese would backstab. So the very fact is, we have given peace a chance, as Master Mukherjee said. A gentleman's agreement is reached between the two gentlemen, not that one person is the gentleman, other person is not. So let's hope for the best and let's keep our fingers crossed. At the same time, let's not keep our guard down there.
Vijay Kranti, do you see this as half an achievement of what of course has been stated at the top, with 50% now camps being dismantled on either side? Do you believe that this the disengagement exercise is happening in the true spirit of the breakthrough between the both sides that was achieved a few days ago?
As far as we understand China, the current disengagement, I don't see that there will be any deception, very big deception on the part of China, because they have already, we were eye to eye standing 4 years, and now China finally had realized that they are dealing with a very different and a new India. So now they are disengaging, and it is in their interest to disengage, because for 4 years they have realized finally that the Chinese soldiers of PLA are not made for Himalayas. And they of course, they have stayed there 4 years, but in these 4 years, they have, after realizing their weaknesses, especially on the manpower side, and the limits of their Han PLA soldiers, they have now shifted their strategy to air defense and missiles. So we have to be ready for it. But as far as disengagement, ongoing disengagement is concerned, I think we'll have to rely, because there is this time we see all the details of how to counter check, not only in its application, but also in when it is implemented. So on that point, I don't see there will be a big problem. And in case there is any problem, we are very sure of our army. They know how to handle, and the support they get from Air Force, etc. That I am quite sure. But a few things I would like to share. That this 4-year experience has proven a few things to Xi and his country, his fellows. As I said, one is that they have realized they are dealing with a new India. But out of this, the major point which needs to be underlined is what you call, if I call it Modi doctrine. There has been a very clear demonstration of Modi doctrine in our dealings with China on the borders, at least on 4 counts. Number one, the focus which Modi government has given on development of infrastructure along the borders, that is outstanding. It never happened in the previous 60 years. So that is one thing. And then the kind of autonomy and the personal touch with the soldiers Modi has evolved, that is very unique, because that has given a new self-confidence to our soldiers. The third point is, when the situation demands, then taking full action, giving a strong reply. This Chinese are realizing. They realized it earlier in Doklam, and now they saw it during Galwan immediately, and after Galwan they have seen it. And fourth point is equipping our soldiers with good quality and sufficient equipment. This approach has made a very big difference. I'm not saying that this has been done completely, but there is a very good already movement in direction. There is a progress in this direction. The new equipment, when it needs to be imported, it is being done, and developing India's own manufacturing capacities.
Yes.
These are four elements which have told Xi and his colleagues that they are dealing with a new India. And overall, if I use the term galvanization,
Yes.
these 4 years of experience using Galvan in both ways, Indian Army, Indian Defense Forces have had a very good chance to galvanize their system.
All right.
And that
All
is
right.
one
Let me
of
take
the
that to
best
Ambassador
takeaways.
Mukherjee. Ambassador Mukherjee, now after, of course, the breakthrough, we did see, President Xi and Prime Minister Modi meet in Kazan as well. Where do you see, post this, the India-China relationship headed?
I think we should be absolutely realistic and clear-headed about the Sino-Indian relationship. As long as we can balance it out in this manner, by disengagement, by an understanding that we don't tread on each other's toes. It's usually they who tread on our toes. We don't tread on theirs. That they stop salami slicing. We can go back to some semblance of normalcy, which on the business and trade front, on people-to-people ties, etc. But we should be we should not foolishly believe that Xi Jinping overnight has turned into a benevolent supporter of India's ambitions to be on the permanent membership of the Security Council, for instance, or to, in any case, feel that we are going to be playing a number 2 role to China, which we never will, because China's approach to its neighbors goes back to its imperial past, which is that they are the middle kingdom and everybody else is subordinate. And that is the way it approaches its neighborhood. So its neighborhood policy is you can have a good relationship with Xi Jinping, provided you are willing to play second fiddle. That's not going to happen to India. So we have to be very realistic. On the other hand, the disengagement enables us, as I said earlier, breathing space. I agree. For the Air Force, we have an advantage over them because our air bases are much closer to the LSC than theirs, which is in Tibet. We still need to build up critical infrastructure. We still need to ensure that some of the equipment available to the Chinese, which we don't have, we must improve our defense acquisitions. We must spend much more on defense, but it gives us valuable breathing space. And I, for one, as a diplomat, am hugely relieved because it also enables us to focus on a very dangerous situation on our east with Bangladesh, with what's happening in Bangladesh and its implications for the northeast, for what's happening in Myanmar, where again the Chinese are meddling. It gives us breathing space so that we can focus on other parts of our troubled neighborhood. So I am very relieved at what's happening.
All right, closing a word to you now, Major Katoj.
Yeah. Uday, I think, when we look at the India-China relationship, it cannot be divorced from the overall geopolitical reality. And in that geopolitical reality, while China remains a threat, I think there are other players also who are, who do not view India's rise in a positive manner. And the West comes very firmly in that. The ambassador mentioned Bangladesh. Now, Bangladesh, a democratically elected government, was overthrown with the meddling of the United States. China had nothing much to do with that. It was a US invention, you see. And in Myanmar, both China and the US are meddling. So we have a very, very troubled neighborhood where geopolitical contestation is taking place and we are caught there. I think we need to be very wary of all ends. ultimately it is not to India cannot side with either the West or with the Chinese or with any bloc. India has to side with China, and that policy currently being undertaken by the government of India, I think suits Indian interests, and we must continue with it. Uday.
All right, let's leave it at that. My thanks to our guests for joining us on this discussion. It's time for a very short break.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.